In this first part of the training course, we look at what happens when you go into your government gateway and you select self-assessment. You are met with this screen. At the top there will be your name, but I've cut it out for training purposes. And then you can see on the right hand side there's a bit that says about doing your tax return. I have already started this person, but we can go back to it. So if I click on, it's going to say complete your tax return. So click on the button that's complete your tax return and you'll go through to the next screen. The screen you will get to, which is not the one shown here, asks for your name, your address, your marital status, which you don't need to fill up, and various bits of other information. Most of it will be pre-populated. The bits you need to look at are going to be whether you're blind or partially sighted, or your spouse is, because then there's an allowance for that. And then the very last question is whether you have a student loan or not. But due to client confidentiality, because the screen will have automatically pre-filled their name and address, date of birth, national insurance number, I can't show you that on the training course. So what we're then going to have, we go on to next, and this is the first screen to actually tailor your return. So it looks at all possible sources of taxable income. The first question is always whether you're an employee or a director or an office holder of a company. So if you have had PAYE income or you're a director of your own company, you'll need to answer yes. It then says during that year, how many employments did you have? So if you kept changing employment, then you would put down 6, 7, 2. This person's only had one, and it asks for the employer's name. Okay. It moves on, were you self-employed? So most people that fill up a tax return tend to fall into the self-employed area. So that'll be a yes. And then it asks for the business name you operate under. Most people operate under their own name. Following that, we then get, were you in partnership? So a different form of self-employment, were you in partnership? Did you receive income from UK property, including land? Now, if you have property income, so this is whether you are part of a rent-a-room scheme, so you have your own house and you rent a room to a lodger, then that would be a yes. Or if you had any property that you have invested in that you rent out to any third party, then that will also be a yes. But this person's a no. Did you receive any foreign income? Now, foreign income, mainly for the self-employed, is if you went, let's say, to Germany, to the USA, Australia, and you earned some self-employed income from another country, and you were paid by that customer in the other country, then your answer will be yes. This then opens a whole pile of new forms that people need to fill in. Did you dispose of any chargeable assets? So in other words, if you had shares that were not in an ISA and you disposed of them, then potentially you will have a capital gain. A lot of the time this happens if you have a rental property and then you sell that property. So we now move on to the next page. Okay. It then goes on, did you receive any bank interest? So it's actually interest of any type, whether it's from a bank, a building society, unit trusts, or if you've had a PPI reclaim, they would have repaid your money plus interest, and that interest should have had tax deducted. We look at dividends. If you run your own company and you're a director of your own company, potentially you have taken money out, which is actually a dividend. That dividend is taxable income. Now, people that have shares in Santander or other foreign companies, if your income's only been up to £300, you don't bother filling in the foreign section. You can declare it here, but that's for small amounts. Most people, it's for the Santander bank because it's a Spanish bank. Did you receive UK pensions? So if you are above pension age and you get a state pension, then that'll be yes. Or if you've taken personal pension or lumps of your personal pension, then this also needs to be a yes. Should you have children, you actually claim the child benefit, then you should declare in here that yes, you have been receiving the child benefit. If you don't have children, obviously, then the answer is no. So for this person, I'm going to put a yes. The reason why I put a yes is it opens up this next question, and it asks if your income was over £50,000. If your income is over £50,000, then you're not entitled to child benefit, and if you have received it, you will have to repay that money. So if I put in no, nothing happens. If I put in yes, it then says, was my income any higher than my partner's? So I might have income of 50,000, but my partner might only have income of 20,000. So that then asks if my partner's income was greater than mine. If the partner's income is greater than the 50,000 and greater than mine, then the partner would be the person that would have to pay back the child benefit, irrespective of who actually received it. So I'm going to put these back as no. Did you receive any other UK income? Employment lump sums. This is if you've been made redundant. This is where you'd put the redundancy payment and the £30,000 exempt limit. If you have income tax losses for the year, and if you're liable to the pension savings tax charge. The answer is mainly no. Okay. It now looks for what type of costs you might have incurred that are tax allowable. So have you made any contributions to a personal pension or an renewal retirement annuity? I can't get those words out. Now, what people often think is because under auto enrolment they're paying into a pension, they tick this. But if you're paying into your employer's auto enrolment pension, that comes out of pre-taxed income, so therefore does not need to go on your tax return. It's only if you are making payments into a pension pot or annuity that comes out of your net income. Did you give to charity? They're mainly looking at things you might have given to charity and you signed a gift aid form of whatever guise it may come in. Now, charity could be the National Trust. It could be your local theatre group and you pay your membership fees. Or it could just generally be you've gone on to Just Giving, and obviously other places are around, and you've donated someone's sponsored walk and you've ticked the button to say gift aid. So this section would then recognise the fact that you have given to charity, and this will be grossed up in order to make sure they got their 20%. What you must be aware is if you have not paid enough tax to cover the tax that HMRC would give to the charity, you are the one that has to pay that tax over as part of your tax bill. We look at the age allowance. So if you or your spouse were born before the 6th of April 1935, then you might get an extra allowance there. Now, the new thing that came in for 2015-16 was a marriage transfer allowance. So you could transfer 10% of your personal allowance to your spouse or civil partner. That only works if one of you does not pay tax, so you earn less than the personal allowance, and the other person is a basic rate taxpayer. And on here, you can then say, yes, I want to transfer some of that allowance. Now this is dealt with, you are transferring it to your spouse. So if you put in yes here, it then asks, was your income less than the amount and your spouse is less than the other amount? And you can put in yes for that. That'll then open up a completely separate page when you come into your tax return proper, that you'll be able to put in your spouse's name and their national insurance number. I'm going to set these to no. And if there's any other claims you'd like to make, so various venture payments, etc., would go in here. If you've been unfortunate enough to have any time unemployed and you claim job seekers allowance, you'd mention it here. Because some state benefits are taxable. The job seekers allowance is taxable. Do you have a tax advisor? Although I am an accountant, I'm not actually a tax advisor, so I always put no. Were you party to one or more tax avoidance schemes? I would hope you're not. Or if you're acting in the capacity of somebody else. As a tax agent, that'll automatically be no. For everybody else, it's normally no, unless you've got financial power of attorney or you're doing this for somebody else. So that will be how to set it up. You can click save and it will record everything. But even if you went on to next, it actually records everything you've already done, so there's no harm in losing it. There's no danger of it. So that is how you complete the first section, Tailor Your Tax Return.